You're listening to the Breadcrumb Mojito Podcast, hosted by Connor Whale.
Easy.
Sure.
All right. Pat, welcome, bro.
Pleasure. Thank you, man. Appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Hey, thank you very much for coming on. Of
course.
Giving us your time. I know you're a busy boy, only back in New Zealand for a week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you like a cocktail to start off with?
I would love one, please.
Coconut gimlet, pineapple chili marg, watermelon Negroni.
Ooh, let's go watermelon Negroni, please.
Easy.
Something nice, refreshing. Yeah, it's hot outside, so
It's
want
cooking.
something to, Oh, look at that for colour, man.
Summer
Look at
is
that.
definitely coming up in here.
Oh, man, I'm jealous. I
It's
only
winter over in the States.
Yeah, only back in town for. I'm back for the month, but by the time I go back, it's gonna be the middle of winter, and I think New York's supposed to be one of the worst winters on record for a little while.
Wow.
So, yeah, I fell asleep in the sun yesterday. So beneath this is
Sunburn.
about the same colour as that.
Love it. Oh, well,
Yeah.
cheers, bro.
Cheers, bro. Good to see
Thank you very much.
as
Good
always.
to see you.
As to you.
So, what brings you
Hello.
back to New Zealand?
Great question. So, obviously, with Cadrona Distillery, we celebrated our 10th birthday on the 5th of November, so a couple of weeks ago. Mm-hmm. And of course, it's the 10th birthday. I've been involved with the distillery full time for a little over 6 years, but there were a couple of years prior to that where I was helping out, just little bits and bobs here and there, helping events, things like that. So, although it's only been 6.5 years full time, I've really been involved with the distillery for
Right from the start, almost.
yeah, almost. No, not almost, but I'd say about 8 years in total.
Yeah.
And the 10th birthday party, man, it's a huge milestone for any business, but specifically one in the distillation game. We always talk about age statements in whiskies, and 10 years is sort of that first big milestone.
Yeah.
And so the whole plan was, it didn't matter what was going on in the world at the time. I was like, I'm coming home for that.
Sick.
So yeah, home for that, helped out at the party as well, which was great. First chance to see a lot of the team members again for a little over a year. It's a big flight. So what
is the flight?
it's 19 hours direct from New York to Auckland. But then of course, living in Wanaka, it's 19 hours to get to Auckland, and then it's the transfer over, then it's the 2-hour domestic flight, and then it's it's about an hour to an hour and a half drive just to get back home. So it's a big shift travel wise.
You got to dedicate a full day plus.
It's a good sort of 24 to 30 hours of travel, just depending on things. But I was like, look, I got a bucket load of leave banked up. I haven't seen everyone in a year. I haven't seen my parents or my brother and things like that, or friends and family in the industry. So I was like, if I'm going to come home, I'm going to come home for a good stint.
Make it worth the trip.
Yeah, so it was home Wanaka for a week, which was awesome. Then went up to Wellington to see mum and dad. Was there for a week, caught up with some friends there, and then a week here in Auckland. Just to mainly see my brother and obviously see a load of the friends up here too. Back home for a couple of days of work this weekend, and then I've got back-to-back weddings. I've got one in Christchurch, or just outside of Christchurch, and then got another one in Sydney.
More jet setting.
Yeah, but my friends are the most important thing to me. So if I can make it happen, I will. Doesn't matter, if it's no sleep or whatever, I'll make it. So.
Oh, that's good, bro.
Yeah,
Love that.
yeah,
Love
man.
that.
Yeah,
And
it's exciting.
I imagine you're fucking busy. Because what was the reason that you were sent to the States for?
Yeah, so we sort of officially we've had some stock and we've done some business as the distillery in the US market for about 2 years now, about 2.5 maybe. But we were sort of we were doing a lot, but we were sort of looking at it more of like an expansion market.
Yep.
And so about 12 months ago, we were sort of in a position to sort of capitalize on that. And so part of the official launch of the brand in the States required boots on the ground. And as my role as global brand ambassador, it kind of made sense for me to go. And also, I had the freedom to do that as well.
Not tied down kids and everything.
Yeah, exactly. And I've lived in the States before, and I've actually worked in the US market before,
Yeah.
so I kind of had a bit of background knowledge as to not only what the US market is like, but also how it operates, because it does operate significantly differently to how we operate here.
Yep.
So it required a full relocation to New York, and I'm young, and I thought, it doesn't matter how well it goes or how bad it goes. You know, this is going to be something that I think I'll kick myself down the line if I don't jump on it.
Yep.
And so, yeah, I put my hand up and said, let's do it. And it's been a hell of a journey, but
sick.
Loving it.
Yeah, fuck, bro. And,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, because you would have started off local rep.
Mm-hmm.
And just, like you say, doing bits and bobs for the distillery before you became full-time and everything like that. And so
Yep.
always sort of tied in with the hospo sort of world.
Yep. Yeah,
And,
man.
It's such a great opportunity to jet set across the world. I think it's what a lot of hospo workers look for, the ability to travel and,
I think so.
you know, open up.
But it's cool because I think, you know, I look at where the industry is now, more so from just a bartending standpoint.
Yep.
You know, we're still doing. You know, even when I was back behind the bar, full time. You know, it was head down, grind it out, long hours. You know, but it was amazing fun. It always is amazing fun. But what I'm seeing now is that there's now more of a platform for bartenders specifically to, you know, build themselves a personal brand.
Yep.
And I think what we're starting to see now is a really good example of how bartenders are able to capitalize on their personal brands to travel.
Yep.
You know, to work alongside big brands, to work alongside other bars. You know, the old idea of like guest shifts and takeovers and this, that, and everything else. I think we're really starting to see, you know, and especially, you know, things like this, the podcasts. You know, social media has obviously been a huge influence in that as well. You know, and I just think that we're sort of now at the point where bartenders are getting those opportunities to explore the world,
Yep.
but also explore it in a way that sort of, you know, builds their skill set and their, you know, their intelligence as to other cultures,
Yep.
flavors, you know, techniques,
Yep.
you
Yep.
know, all of these things, which ultimately at the end of the day, specifically here in New Zealand, is only going to help elevate not just the beverage scene but the food scene as well. And I'm super excited to see where it's going.
100%. And especially now with like Michelin coming in to add New Zealand to the list and all of those little opportunities to just sort of push
Massively.
New Zealand hospitality that little bit further.
Well, the thing is that, you know, I studied tourism at university, and by no means am I a tourism aficionado by any stretch of the imagination. But I've got a piece of paper that might suggest that.
Yeah. I know what a tour bus is.
Yeah, exactly. But tourism makes up, you know, nearly 50% of the country's GDP.
Yep.
Alongside, you know, our dairy exports. And, you know, we rely so heavily on tourism here in New Zealand that, you know, it's typically always been sort of highlighted and focused towards our natural beauty and our natural landscapes, which is breathtaking. We all know, you know, how beautiful this country is.
Yeah, God's own.
It's one of a kind, you know, and it's a real luxury coming back to it. It makes me, you know, makes me so happy, and I almost brought a tear to my eye driving back into Wanaka, you know, and just seeing the mountains and the lake. It's breathtaking. But what we're starting to see now is obviously, you know, the wine industry was always a big thing, or has been a big thing recently. When I say recently, I sort of mean like the last sort of 40, 50 years.
Yep.
New Zealand wine has really taken off. But in the last couple of years, we're starting to see our culinary exports start to shine. You know, people are starting to look at New Zealand and going, okay, there's actually some real interesting, you know, techniques specifically about New Zealand's, you know, essentially culinary, offerings.
Yep.
People always ask me, what is New Zealand cuisine? And it's a question that I actually don't quite know that I have the answer for. I'm sure, you know, many of your guests on this podcast will have an answer or have their version of an answer.
Yeah.
My response to it is always our produce. You know, our produce is almost second to none globally.
Yeah.
But I think it's the way that it's cared for, and I think it's the way that it's prepared, where it's sourced, how it's being sourced, I think is sort of something that is a flagship of New Zealand's cuisine.
Yeah.
But I also think we're in a really interesting world as well, where kind of as I was talking about bartenders and, you know, the ability for them to kind of see the world globally, I think it's almost kind of goes hand in hand with the culinary scene here. It's like we can almost carving out an identity for New Zealand cuisine and what that looks like. And I think look, I'm not going to get into a huge discussion about Michelin with you. There are plenty of other people that'll have better conversations about it with you.
But a little more equipped.
Yeah, exactly. But I think what that provides is a platform for New Zealand's restaurant scene specifically to kind of morph and shape what it is that New Zealand cuisine actually is, and what we can present to a global audience. I think obviously Michelin's a great platform to do so. We just need some foundations laid and a almost like a pathway to success built in order for that to be fully achieved.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like you say, it's a great platform. It's world renowned, and it just talking to Joe from Paris Butter earlier.
Yeah, Joe's awesome.
He's great, absolutely great. We were just talking about how it's people that are really involved in the culinary scene and want to eat at like the world's top 50 restaurants. When they travel the world looking at those restaurants, they're not just there to eat and then they fly out.
No.
They experience other parts of the country or the area. They still buy a coffee at the cafe. They still get a bottle of water from the dairy. They still go do some tourist attractions. And so having Michelin join us, having them sort of bring us in, is just going to help that tourism side of things as well. It might be a bringing in point, but it's not the only reason that they come type thing. We have so many things to offer, just like down in Wanaka, go into the mountains and shit like that.
Massively.
And so it's great that we just give more opportunity for people to come appreciate what we grow up with,
Dude,
it's a good fucking spot.
It's a great fucking spot, man. And it's funny, like having lived in New York now for a little over a year, people always ask me, what is it like in New Zealand? And all I do is I just Google, Queenstown, Wanaka, or, the Mackenzie Basin, or even Northland, or, the Abel Tasman, or the West Coast. And I just show them photos and I'm like, that's what we grow up with. Yeah. And it's accessible for the most part. It's a car ride, Sure, it might be a couple of hours, but you can get to those places.
Yeah, in the States, a car ride is like 10 hours.
Oh, man. I remember when I was living in Texas, man, I drove for 11 hours, and I was still in the state of Texas.
Fuck off.
Yeah, and I was driving, I think it was I-35, it basically takes you north-south. And, you drive almost 11 hours, on various other different roads, but, you're still in Texas. You haven't seen...
You've seen the whole country in New Zealand. You drive for
a
that
couple of
long,
times at least, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Someone told me once. I think I did the math on it. I think New Zealand fits into the state of Texas 3.5 times from a landmass standpoint. So it just goes to show, like the scale of everything. We're so fortunate here.
Yeah, for sure. Fuck. That's things you don't think about, eh?
Nah.
We're tiny compared to and I mean, even population-wise, I don't know what the population of Texas is, but we're 5 million?
Yeah. I wouldn't have a clue, but I think the US is 330 million or something along those lines. I'd have to fact check that. So
it's just a whole completely different scale.
It really is. But and this is something that I've always said to people is that I think being from New Zealand is so special because we have now built a reputation for ourselves. It doesn't matter what we do, whether it's the education side of things, whether it's sports, whether it's food and beverage. Culture, whatever it may be, New Zealand will always has done punched so far above its weight in almost everything we do, and I think that's what makes me super proud. Yeah, it's that David and Goliath sort of thing. It's sure, we might be a tiny little country in the South Pacific, but we'll make a name for ourselves. And we do it pretty well. 100%.
I totally with you on that. When you're talking, I was sort of thinking what are the things that I really appreciate about New Zealand, and I think that the classic saying of Kiwi ingenuity, bit of number 8 wire type stuff, that is our culture and our identity.
100%.
We have competed in whether it be athletics, adventuring, technology, innovation in all different areas of the world. You look at Sir Edmund Hillary and Everest, that puts us on the map. In terms of politics, the first country to give women the vote. That's a world-leading thing. I was watching Gold Rush, the Discovery Channel show.
Oh, yeah.
So Parker Schnubble, one of the younger dudes on it, he came to New Zealand, and he is down in the South Island, and he went and visited a gold mine, and it was just one dude operating a digger on like a barge that had a gold sorting machine and everything, and he was like, one man is running this operation, whereas we'd normally have 6 dudes doing the same thing. Like their advancements in just how to mine the gold on a smaller scale is just leaps and bounds ahead of what we're doing. And so I just see so many different things where New Zealand's always like putting their hand up, like, hey bro, don't forget about us, my man.
Don't forget about us.
Exactly.
I heard New Zealand being referred to as Diet Australia the other day online, and I thought it was just the funniest thing in the world, because I can still see the comedic side of us, being the, I guess, quote unquote younger brother of Australia, and we always are. We're always fighting to get out of that shadow. And who knows? That's not for us to
and they only want to be the big brother because they're bigger.
Sure, exactly. But like, we're always going to be there, being like, hey, doesn't matter what you guys do globally, we're going to be right there trying to do it with you. And if not, we'll do it better.
100%.
But we're going to do it in our way, and we're going to do it with our humour, our laid back sort of side things. And I think also globally, people, and if we bring it back to the industry real quick, I think that's why New Zealand is like, New Zealand professionals in our industry, when they go offshore, people gravitate towards that because it's it's less about the who's and the what's, and it's actually about, hey, what's your outlook on things? What's your perspective on things? How can you be so detailed and so articulate or so dialed in, yet have such a relaxing demeanor about it? And it's like, well, that's just how we grow up. And I think that's something that, for me, I always wear it like a badge of honor.
For sure. And I think there's, a lot of, I tend to wonder where those mindsets and mentalities come from. And I think, like, because we are so isolated, to ship anything here or ship anything out of here, it just takes twice as long as everywhere else. It's not like Europe where you're land bordering different countries.
Sure.
And so we've always had to have that little bit of struggle. And it's kind of like we chose our own hard. And like we can make shit work just as good as anywhere else with less resources.
Without question.
And we've just got to do it intelligently. And we'll always sort of come through and win that race.
Always.
And that's what I really love about New Zealand. Like, whenever I talk to other people, what's New Zealand like? New Zealand, it's pretty chill. But everyone works pretty fucking hard to get whatever they need to get done.
That's the thing, man.
You just muck in.
The New Zealand brand, so to speak, in the workforce globally, is well renowned for being the hardest workers. You go anywhere in the world, even when I was living in London, you talk to people over there and they say, Kiwis are always typically the hardest workers. For sure. And it's a good thing to have, because it's true. That's what we do. This country was built on hard work.
100%. We're sort of thinking back to before technology was so wide in terms of social media and things like that. I always kind of was aware that we were maybe like 10 years or so behind some of the more connected countries. But now with social media opening up and things like that, I specifically noticed it in like the cocktail and food game.
Sure.
We didn't really know what people were doing in the States. And so we just kind of did it ourselves and maybe focused on more classics. But now that we can see what's going on, we are definitely bringing our drinks and food.
Absolutely.
It's got our twist on it and it's nice and unique, but it sits at that same caliber in terms of like all of our professionals. So from someone that is living in the States, experiencing bars and talking about booze all the time, what are there still some things that we're slightly behind on?
Yeah, I think there are. And I think a lot of it actually comes down to education.
Okay.
And I don't think I think one of the things I think predominantly where an element of that could increase actually comes from us as brands. And it's, it's not just us as brands, but I think, if we kind of look back to sort of that thing earlier about, bigger markets globally, you look at these big brands or these big houses or, distribution companies or whatever it may be. And it's like, all these companies, they have budgets, they have marketing budgets, they have activation budgets. And a lot of the times those budgets just aren't quite as big here in New Zealand as they are, for instance, overseas, And so we do, unfortunately, are on the receiving end of, not necessarily the full spotlight. And I think that is something where, and again, I don't have the answer, and I don't know, I don't necessarily know how one builds that moving forward. But I think one thing that we could do is to utilize, the opportunities for brands to bring in or to take over or to bring New Zealand overseas, and just kind of create a bit more of an education thing. Whether it's, what's the word I'm looking for? Like not like an internship, but sort of, like an exchange program. We get bartenders from somewhere else in around the world, and we exchange them for one of ours, and it's it's just like a learning curve type thing, because a lot of people would love to come to New Zealand, and for visa issues or whatever it may be, that's simply just not possible. Vice versa, like trying to look at the States, for instance, trying to get a work visa in the States is nigh on impossible. So it's like, well, how can we utilize not only the connections, because we all know that this is one of the most networked communities and industries in the world. But it's like, how can we use that, work alongside brands, work alongside, other bars, hospitality groups, industry professionals, lobbying, certain government agencies and things like that, to actually provide, and I guess kind of this can sort of look back into, I guess, Michelin in a way, but again, different conversation in its entirety. But I think that there is a landscape, or at least, a runway to success there. Because you look at, the thing that I find quite often is, I might walk into the same bar 4 times a week. And you get different people working, not because of the roster, but because someone might be on a brand trip somewhere, or someone might be doing a takeover of a pop-up on the other side of the world, and it's sort of like they all work at the same bar, but they're all sort of moving and shaking and doing their own things, and it all sort of funnels back to either the bar or themselves as a brand or whatever it may be. And I think that's something that we are missing out on here in New Zealand, which I think, it's not an overnight fix for sure, but I think with the right conversations, I think that's something that we can sort of lay the foundation for, so that we are getting seen, but also educated in the same process. Because it's not just like, knocking on the door until someone opens it. It's more like, hey, we'll knock, and once we're there, we want to be able to bring stuff back and sort of help nurture our community here and our industry here specifically as well.
No, I think that's cool. I've always sort of considered just the concept of scale is just the biggest difference, when you talk about trying to distribute spirits to 300 and something million people or 5 million people. It's a challenge. It's hard to even conceptualize in your brain, because I could never even imagine New Zealand with 300 and something million people, we wouldn't fucking fit.
Bro.
And it would be like sardines.
Dude, I'll tell you this, like, there's a great example, and I'm not gonna name the brand, but there's a brand in the US that produces every hour 9-litre cases. So a 9-litre case is a 12-pack of 750ml bottles, and they produce per hour.
It's just
that same brand has a KPI built in. Actually, this probably can't go into the podcast. You might need to edit this out.
Okay.
I'll tell you the story and we'll figure it out after. But they have a target to hit in the state of New York alone.
Wow. Yeah, fuck.
Sorry, yes.
And that's bizarre, because it's worth of production.
It's crazy. It's crazy. And it's absolutely mad. But and I think there are a couple of things I think as well. We as an industry, as a beverage industry, can look at, and I think one of the big things for us is the cost of production. Really, really, really struggles. It makes it challenging, because we've got to fight, especially like glass bottles, caps, corks, packaging, this, that, and everything else. Transportation, import, export, all of that stuff. Adds cost, but and then on top of that, excise tax is another killer for us as a collective. So, it'd be nice to see conversations around, specifically excise tax, again with local government through through lobbying, to see if there's a world that exists where we can still obviously pay excise tax for sure. That's never going to change, but maybe scale it based on production volumes or whatever, and sort of maybe look at different models as to how we can actually utilize the incredible spirit production that we do have in this country, and taking it to the world stage. And kind of almost follow in a similar footstep to how the New Zealand wine industry became so globally recognised. Again, those are conversations well beyond my pay grade. But again, these are things that I think about, consistently as well.
Yeah, and I mean, you're positioned quite well with operating in sort of with a great brand, but in two different countries, and being able to firsthand see how other big brands are doing it and things like that. It puts you in the perfect position to notice and observe, and then come up with ideas to sort of help put them forward and things like that. Like quite a position of privilege and innovation, I think,
Massively.
for how our local industries are going to boom. Because I mean, like we were saying before, New Zealand produce is looked at as amazing produce all around. And I mean, you even take it back, you've got the wine, but like things like 42 Below. We were just making vodka, but it was good vodka. And now that has been purchased, and I'm sure you see that quite often around the States and things like that, and a lot of bars.
All the time.
And so, like yourselves at Cadrona, you've also got Scapegrace. We've got great brands that have the ability to compete on the global market. We just have to make it slightly more accessible, and maybe take our Kiwi ingenuity into things like tax. And how do we make it accessible? How do we promote New Zealand on the world stage?
Hugely.
In every category.
Agreed.
Because we've already got the people. We've already got, I mean, you look at things like Xero accounting. Like
Global.
Global brand.
Global.
And that's a little old New Zealand company.
Little old New Zealand. You know what I mean?
And so we've got the smarts, and we've got the know-how to do it all. We just got to find out the scale.
That's
and
the one.
how to do the scale. And I think in a part we're fortunate that we haven't had to deal with that problem.
Sure.
But then we're at a disadvantage on other levels.
Yeah, and I think what I'm noticing now is that we collectively as a country, because as social media starts to climb, people are actually starting to. There's more eyes on New Zealand than ever before. And so I think that's a huge help. In a way, not all of it's free, but a lot of that is free marketing for the country. And I think we're in a position now where, because we're getting so many eyeballs on New Zealand, I think what it really does is it's literally setting that platform and that foundation for a massive boom. However, there needs to be a lot of work done within that foundation to make sure that when that eventual boom does take off, we strong. As a collective, not just in the booze industry or the food industry, but the tourism sector across the board, from an infrastructure standpoint, is actually in a position where it can absorb and actually capitalize on it. We see, especially in hospitality, how difficult it can be from a staffing standpoint, this, that, and everything else. So it's like, we need to make sure that when that big influx does arrive, that we have the means to provide a service to give them the best possible chance to, enjoy their time here, so that, it's repeat customers, so to speak.
Yeah, for sure. Love that. Brace yourselves. It's sponsorship time. I know ads can feel like the Broccoli podcast, but today we're talking about the Bar Society, a company I own and operate. So think of it as supporting my broccoli farm. This goes out to all cocktail lovers and hospitality pros. Are you ready to elevate your drinking experience? Introducing the Bar Society, New Zealand's leading clear ice supplier. Whether you're stirring down a classic old-fashioned or crafting the perfect gin and tonic, there's no substitute for crystal clear ice. Not only does our ice look stunning, but it also melts slower, keeping your drinks colder and your flavors perfectly balanced. From home bartenders to high-end establishments, the Bar Society's here to bring your beverages to the next level. Order today and see why we're trusted by the best bars and restaurants in New Zealand. Visit thebarsociety.co.nz and let us transform your drinks. The Bar Society. Elevate your drinking experience. So, if I take a quick back step.
Sure.
What got you into, thank you, bro. What got you into the industry in the first place?
Really good question, man. The industry or in the role that I'm in?
Let's start with the industry and we'll move into the role that you're in.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I was always fascinated by I was always fascinated by beverages, you know, and I'd watch some silly stuff online and whatever. And I guess in a way, like I was never creative as a kid. You know, I was terrible at arts. I was good at sport, and that was what I loved more than anything. But I never really had like a creative outlet. You know, I was terrible at drawing, terrible at painting, you know, awful at art, whatever it was. It just I couldn't do it. And I think I first started enjoying it just through like cooking simple things, you know, scrambled eggs or making an omelette or whatever. And, you know, I kind of almost realized that cooking was something that I quite enjoyed. But it was something that I enjoyed personally. But then obviously with cooking comes the beverage side of things. And I started just watching a bunch of silly stuff online and was like, oh, okay, well, like that's an interesting cocktail, or that looks fun, or that looks delicious. How can I recreate that? Yeah. And so I was always tinkering around and playing around and whatever. My brother at the time was working in a restaurant, and he had fallen in love with it. And I'd come back from an OE, and I was just about to go to university, and I picked up a bar job over that summer. And it was literally just the means to an end for me to make a bit of money before I went down to university. And I don't know what it was, but those first couple of weeks, I was hooked. I loved it. I loved the idea that I could talk to people, do the work, obviously, but I got to talk to people and, you know, give them a service and still get paid for it. You know, it was, and then on top of that, you know, for anyone that's worked in a bar or for anyone that hasn't worked in a bar, you know, you could work 3 shifts behind a bar, and the people that you work with could be friends for life.
It's a family.
Yeah, it's like trauma bonding. Straight up. You know, at the end of the day, that's kind of what it is. You know, because let's be honest, some shifts suck. Some shifts suck.
It's fucking
and you know, there's nothing more refreshing than having a really shit day at work or going through a really tough stint. And looking across the bar or looking across the restaurant or whatever it may be and being like, all right, well, cool. I respect that guy because he's right there with me and he knows exactly what I'm feeling. And, you know, we might sit down and, you know, have a beer at the end of the shift or, you know, go for a coffee the next day and unpack it all. But, you know, it's nice knowing that you're not the only one in it and that there's people, you know, sort of doing it with you. And I just love that camaraderie side of things. It was almost like, not to relate it to sports by any stretch, but like, you know, having stopped playing sport by that time, it was kind of like almost like a team, sort of team environment that I was kind of craving. And so then I went down to university and just picked up another sort of like just regular pub job, you know, nothing crazy, nothing hectic or whatever. And then post-Quakes, there was a big hospitality precinct getting built. And I was able to get myself a job there. So I was on the opening team, the opening bar team for that, and that was sort of the turning point for me because that company that had sort of fronted it was actually based here in Auckland. And so a lot of the big dogs, or you know, a lot of the sort of well-known bartenders from Auckland had sort of come down and put their sort of stamp on it. And so to me, it was kind of like, oh, cool, this is kind of the level that I need to be at. I just tried to be as much of a sponge as possible and absorb it all. And, you know, still to this day, some of the people from that bar team, you know, are still my nearest and dearest, and I've got all the love in the world for them. But that's that for me. Once I was in there, it was like, cool, this is the industry that I love. And it's just like, how can I keep learning? How can I keep growing? So yeah, that's kind of how I got into the industry. And then, funnily enough, actually that bar specifically was actually helped put me in a position to actually take on the role that I have. Well, not the current role, but it was my foot in the door to the distillery too. So if I rewind, so my mother's Swedish, my father's Scottish. So growing up, Dad's from a very, very small town in Scotland called Editon. No one really knows where it is, and that's fine. But it's very close to a town called Tain. And Tain is famous for Glenmorangie, the whiskey distillery. What people don't realise is that just down the road, a couple of miles, is Editon. There's also a distillery there too. It's called Belblair. And so Dad, growing up, he was a big whiskey fan. Awesome whiskey collection. And so growing up as a kid, you know, he was very, very good at educating, you know, me and my brother as to, you know, what whiskey was. You know, he'd give us little samples of it and sort of would just talk to us about the differences, you know, why things were, you know, why they tasted a certain way or whatever. by no means is Dad a whiskey aficionado at all. He's just a huge fan, and really actually was a pivotal reason as to why I actually started to enjoy it.
Yep.
And so I had always had this fascination with the production side of things, but also the brand side of things. You know, we all look at a back bar, and the first thing we do, even if it's subconsciously, we always look for the bottles that we recognize or the brands that we love.
Yep.
We do it subconsciously.
Yep.
You know, and it was always like, oh, that's really interesting, because it's like, why do you love that brand? And that's sort of, I don't know, it was just something that I always thought about.
It's really understanding the human psyche of what attracts us to something.
Massively.
Yeah. And you're totally right. We do look for the things that are familiar, and I think we do that in almost every area of our life. It might be a car brand.
Cars,
you buy
clothes,
what is
food,
familiar.
whatever. Yeah,
yeah, for sure.
100%. And so I knew that the distillery was getting built. I knew that Cadrona was getting built because I'd heard sort of rumours about it, but didn't really know too much about it other than that. And, you know, at the time I was full-time studying and I was full-time working too. So I was just sort of head down, grind through it, do it. Having a blast, by the way. And so I never really thought too much about the distillery because I was just mentally sort of tied up elsewhere. And then Theo, who was the original rep for the distillery, and actually one of the first employees for the distillery, he was repping the entire South Island. And he called into the bar one day with a bottle of the Reed, a bottle of the Sauce gin, and a bottle of the Rose Rabbit orange liqueur. And we did a staff training. And I remember tasting everything, but I remember getting to the Reed, and I picked it up and I smelt it, and I put it back down, and I was like, that's incredible, before I'd even tasted it. And then what I knew from then was that this is something that's like homegrown New Zealand. It's elite quality, and it's something that, you know, I can truly get behind. Yeah. And so we brought it into the bar, and we started going through quite a bit of volume. I don't know exactly how much volume in comparison to other places, but we were going through enough that we got me and a buddy of mine, Tom Sutton, who's still one of my nearest and dearests. We got invited down to the distillery on sort of almost like a bit of a brand trip.
Yeah, a little crew excursion.
Yeah, and this was a little over 12 months after the distillery was like first started producing spirit.
Yeah.
So it was still pretty early days. And I'll never forget it, man. We got on site earlier that afternoon, and basically we went around, we met everyone, met the team, and then they were basically like, cool, well, we are currently either filling casks or bottling or labeling or whatever. You guys are an extra set of hands. Jump in, happy days. And Tom and I were like pigs in shit, man. We just fell in love with it. And it's still to this day like one of my favourite days ever. Yeah. And of course, you know, we went out that night and had a blast and whatever, and we came back the next day and, you know, helped out a little bit more. And I think just from that day alone, you know, I was hook, line and sinker. Yeah. And it's because of the team, the care, the professionalism, and just watching the operation of it, I was like, oh, this is purpose built to be successful and to be incredible. And so from that day on, I was hooked. Like I said, went back to the bar, kept sort of finished off my degree, kept working there, and then I took a couple of years off and went to the States, just on like a bit of an OE type thing.
Yeah, see the world. Do some growing up.
Yeah, exactly. And I was working in a bar in Texas, which was the most fun I've ever had. Yeah, it was sensational. But grew up a lot while I was there, and then it was when I came back. You know, I had a degree, didn't really know what I wanted to do, but I knew that frontline hospitality wasn't quite where I wanted to be anymore. And the idea of representing a brand or getting sort of onto the, almost in a way, the commercial side of the industry was something that I was kind of interested in. And about a month before I was having those thoughts, Cadrona had just hired Tom, but in the UK.
Okay, yeah.
And so I'd reached out to them just to congratulate them of getting Tom, because he's such an asset as a human being to any brand and to anything that he touches. But they reached back out to me, and I half jokingly in that message, I just said, hey, if you're ever hiring, let me know. Sure enough, they hit me back, and they're like, hey, we've got a role, but it's based in Auckland. It's for a local sales rep role. Is it something that you'd be interested in? And I was like, let's go.
Yeah.
Sign me up. Let's tag me in, coach. Let's go. And
I love it.
Yeah. So signed the contract, and about a week later, I moved to Auckland, and I'd only ever been here once properly beforehand.
Was Ollie up here at this stage?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
Yeah,
Ollie
so
was,
you're up here alone fish.
Ollie was, I think, still in London at that time.
Yeah.
And so I moved up here. I knew one person, and that person was Adam Neal, who I owe a lot to. He's one of my absolutely nearest and dearest friends, and I owe a lot to him for the success of my career and my journey within the industry. So it was nice to have him as a familiar face, and he was great at introducing me to his friends and the people that he knew and his staff. And from there, I kind of very, very quickly sort of built a bit of a community here in Auckland, whilst representing the brand. And it was one of the case in point. The more time I spent here, the more success I was having, the more I fell in love with it. And just I kept doing that, and I did it for, I must have been up here for about 2.5 years it must have been. And then I got the opportunity to move back to Wanaka, and I took on the cellar door manager role, and I did that for a year. And then I switched into the national sales role, and I did that for a year. And then at the beginning of last year, I took on the global brand ambassador role. So that's how I'm now in the position that I am now.
Bro.
Yeah.
What a fucking journey.
Huge journey.
And full credit to you for even putting yourself in the position, the little comments. If you guys are ever hiring, hit me up. The risk to move to Auckland by yourself and just sort of start from scratch. When you're a national brand manager, were you running a team?
Yeah.
Or so everyone was doing sort of the door-to-door sales, and you were managing them.
And trying to help sort of just, to be honest, at the end of the day, a lot of them were pretty self-operating. But it's along the lines of how can you implement the knowledge or the experiences that you've had, and things that work well for me and what might work for you, and then a lot of it was actually just admin based, filling out liquor licenses and all sorts of just trying to because I knew that I'm terrible at admin.
Okay.
And so what I was like I'll try and take on as much of their admin work as possible, so it frees them up to go and spend more time in the market.
And you get a bit more practice.
And I get a bit more practice, and I don't think it'd ever work, but hey, here we are.
Oh, bro, what a fucking journey.
It's been a journey.
Man.
It has. It really has.
It's amazing to see how it's flourished, and you've just sort of found something that you're kind of interested in.
Kind of an understatement.
It's just kind of interested, in the food and the drinks and things like that, and then realizing that you want to be off the front lines and get into the commercial space, and then putting yourself in a position where you're able to take on growth opportunities. And it's cool. Yeah. It's really, really, really cool to see. And good effort, bro.
It's fun. I mean, to tell you what, it's not been without its stresses.
Yeah, for sure.
It does, I have taken a bucket load of risks along the way. A bunch of relocations, which has put a lot of pressure, on my personal life. And on my mental health as well, which has suffered, in the past. And, granted, it's still day in, day out, it's ups and it has its downs. Don't get me wrong.
As we all do.
I'm definitely not perfect.
Yeah.
But I'm also very open and happy to talk about that as well. But I think ultimately at the end of the day, as a kid that didn't really know where he wanted to go or how he was going to go anywhere or what my pathway in the future looked like, and I'm sat here still, I don't know where I'm going to be in 5 years. But I'm going to continue to, be open to whatever comes in front of me. And, I think that's just a thing in life that by no means am I saying throw caution to the wind in all aspects of life, but I think it's a skill that have it in the tool belt, because there are moments in life where you are going to need to be like, hey, is this something that I can plan for or plan ahead for, or is this just something that I'm going to have to, jump in head first off the deep end and just see what the result is? And I've been lucky that I've done that enough now, but ultimately at the end of the day, man, I just want to be able to sit down at the pub at the when I'm older and just have a plethora of wicked stories and experiences.
Yeah.
That's my end goal in life.
Just have an exciting, story-filled life.
Yeah.
You can help the rest of the world.
That's the one. If I can tell a story to someone and it invigorates them to do something, or then I feel like my job in life is done.
Yeah.
That'll make me the happiest man in the world.
Fucking oath.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So, speaking on the mental, do you want to top up your cocktail?
Yeah, but actually, you know what? I'm going to jump into, let's jump into something new. Let's go that coconut gimlet, actually.
Gimlet?
Let's do that.
Easy, bro.
That looks delish.
So in terms of like the mental health aspect of things,
Yep.
Your role,
Yep.
especially the amount of travel, relocations, fucking admin,
Yeah.
is, it's just a stressful
Yeah.
environment to be on. Like you say, personal life struggles. I assume it's probably a little bit harder to settle down and do things because it's a little bit unpredictable on where you're going to be week to week. And so what are the things that you've put in place for you to sort of keep mentally healthy and strong?
It's a really good question, actually, and I'm glad you asked that because it's the first part of it is quite funny.
Okay.
So you know me, and a lot of people that might listen to this do know me. My dog is my ride or die. I've got a boxer. He's 5 years old now. Rye. He is my everything, right? And a lot of people have met him. They know how much he means to me. And so when the conversation about me relocating to, at first and originally back down to Wanaka, and then from Wanaka to New York, it was never a question that he was coming with me.
Yeah.
And so part of the deal with me going to New York was that he's coming with me. And it's a huge, huge thing. But ultimately, at the end of the day, for my mental health, my dog provides me with the daily structure and routine that I need to keep myself within a routine. It gives me a purpose outside of myself and what I'm doing professionally to keep me getting. He's the reason I get out of bed every morning. He's the reason I'm constantly trying to, be better. I get up in the morning, I take him out for a run. I go to the gym. That's the other part of it. I always have to try and stay active, whether it's, going for a hike or going for a walk or, or a run, whatever it may be. And the gym for me is a big thing. For me, it sounds a little bit more intense than it is, but for me, the gym is my way of going to war with myself mentally every day. And if I can win that battle, then I've won a part of the day. If I can get up, take Rye out, go to the gym, my day I've set the platform to have a successful day.
Yep.
And then it's the other little bits. It's like, okay, I've got to make sure that I'm home at a reasonable time so I can take care of Rye, or take him out for another walk, or whatever it may be, or whatever it may be. Like he sort of provides the essentially like the nucleus for my mental health stability.
Yeah, it keeps you grounded,
Massively.
keeps you on a scale,
Massively.
Doesn't matter what's going on at work, you still have to pick up a shit when you go for a walk type thing.
100%, man, and I wouldn't have it any other way. And especially in New York, where it's like you walk out the door and it is just confronting.
Yeah.
And I'm also super thankful that I live with another very near and dear friend of mine, but also of the industry here in New Zealand, Giancarlo.
Yep.
Jesus. So him and I live together in New York, and him and I have a very, very similar outlook on life, a very, very similar viewpoint on mental health. We have our ups and downs, and what I love more than anything is that him and I could be sat on the couch, in bits, the two of us, and we just talk it out, and it's like we've got nothing to hide behind.
Yep.
And it's like I think that's been a huge, huge help for me, and I'd like to think that it's been a huge, huge help for him too.
Good camaraderie, good respect.
Yeah, massively. And dude, ultimately at the end of the day, I mean, dude, you juggle 1,000 different things, including being a father. I have a dog. That's a dog. It's not a child. You know what I mean? So I have the.
It's quite nice walking the dog and the kids together.
Yeah. Look, maybe one day. But for me, it's like we all go through our stresses. Not just as males. Specifically Kiwi males, but men, women, they, them, doesn't matter who you are, what you do in the world. Like we all go through struggles mentally, and I think ultimately at the end of the day is being able to sit back and realize that and go, you know what, hey, when the next time someone asks me, hey, how are you doing? Don't just be like, I am fine, because I don't want to I don't want to bother them, or I don't want to turn the conversation sour. It's just a simple like, hey, look, I've been better. I'm going through a rough patch, whatever. And it's admitting to yourself that you're not doing that flash, and it's so okay.
Yeah.
It's so okay to not be okay. Some days you wake up and you're like, actually, you know what? It's going to be a lot better for me to focus on myself today.
Yeah.
Because if I go out and if I go and try and achieve something, I'm just going to make it worse.
Yeah.
And it's being able to step back and go, right, okay, my mental health, my mental approach to things is far more important than an 8-hour workday.
Yeah. Yep.
And then it's communicating that as well. Not being like, hey, I didn't work today because I decided to sit on the couch. It's like, hey, actually, I've been really struggling. And I think just creating a line of communication, both as a community within our friends and family, but also that needs to then stretch out, I think, into the workforce too, and be like, hey, look, our bosses have shit work days. Shit work days and also shit mental health days.
Yep.
I think just collectively, and I see growth. I definitely see growth in it, but I think, again, it's one of those things where that growth could be, it's not, hey, we've reached that goal or we've reached that limit. It's like, right, how can we keep improving?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and I'm a firm believer that if you have a way of, when you're having a rough day, the sooner you can, sometimes just talking it out is all you need. Or sometimes a walk with the dog is all you need, or a gym session is all you need. And if you continue to resist that outlet, it ain't going to get better. It's just going to compile and compound on you. So it's the noticing it is half the battle.
Massively.
Notice it, find what works for you, and getting it out. Just so you can return to zero. And you're at ground zero again, and then fucking take the next day. Like say, everyone has a shit day. It's okay to not be okay for a day.
100%, man.
But the last thing you want to do is put yourself in a position where you're having a rough month. Because it's not going to get better after that. And so there's help for everyone. It doesn't have to be a therapist. It could be your flatmate.
It could be,
It's I think easier to get help than a lot of people realize, because I think there's a little bit of ego that comes into it. A lot of people, whether it be man or women, are a little bit afraid to ask for help because there's a little bit of ego. They don't want to appear weak. Maybe you are a leader of a business and you don't want your team to think that you can't cope and shit like this. And so getting past that point and finding out what is your outlet is an amazing thing, and we can all move on. It's all good.
I think vulnerability is the single-handedly largest, physical showcase of strength.
Yeah,
massively,
for sure. 100%.
And I'm a big guy.
Yeah, fuck, bro, you've gotten bigger since you've been away.
I know. But vulnerability to me is where strength is really found. And I think mind and body they go hand in hand, and there's so much research and there's some wonderful programs out there. But that's I always say that putting your hand up and just being like, hey, that's not it. I'm not doing flash. That's it. I always encourage people just talk it out. Talk it out.
I love that, bro. It's great to see. Like, we've all got someone we can talk to.
Always.
And if we don't, there's services that exist.
Absolutely.
They're always there for you. And so go hard. Especially for people in the industry, Healthy Hospo.
Oh, man.
A great crew to be in touch with.
Hugely.
The community events that they run. Driving range day not long ago, they got run club, all of the different things. They are really doing a shitload for New Zealand hospitality community.
Massively.
And so anyone that needs help, get involved in Healthy Hospo. All across the country. Go hard.
That's awesome.
Have you done a lot of stuff with Healthy Hospo?
I personally haven't. Which is something that I wish that I have been able. I wish that I had done more.
And it's a bit hard when you've been in the States.
It's a bit of a challenge. Again, that's not to make excuses.
No.
But my advocate, I think, for people that know me, know that I've been a really resounding ear to a lot of people. A lot of people have been really resounding ears to me specifically as well.
Yeah.
So Yeah, although I haven't physically been, an advocate or done much work with them, it's, I try to do it in my own way.
Yeah.
Where I can't physically be present.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
Yeah. Love it. So let's take a little turn.
Sure.
For any hospo, bartenders, waiters, etc., anyone looking down the barrel of wanting to get into the brand rep side of things, what are the best sort of things to look out for or avenues to go down to be able to venture into that career side, do you think?
Ooh, good question. First and foremost, I think not being afraid to ask.
Yep.
Huge, or not even not being afraid to ask, but and this kind of actually the first part of this answer actually leads into a bigger conversation. But it's it focuses around every time you meet someone new, look them in the eye, shake their hand. Introduce yourself, have a conversation, listen to who they are or what they're saying, because ultimately at the end of the day, you never know who you are meeting and how that person may or may not be able to help you in the future. And I think that's a huge part of it. We are guilty of shaking someone's hand or meeting people that we only think are going to benefit us.
Yes.
And quite often they're not. It's not the case because the person that actually is making the decision or the person that it's actually calling the shots isn't that person.
Yep.
And they're the person that you'll never know or you might not know or you might never get the chance to meet face to face. And so that's number one, is always just be, make sure that you take care as to every single person that you meet.
Yep.
I've been guilty of it in the past, still am. And that's just me putting my hand up and being like, maybe I should listen to my own advice a little bit as well. The second thing is there will always be the advocacy side of this industry is huge. It will always exist. It will always continue to exist. Do something and sign something on if you can. I know that sometimes just getting a foot in the door is the best example. And if there is an opportunity to get your foot in the door, even if it's merchandising and building, stands at a liquor store or whatever it is, or building displays, or installing or doing in-store tastings or whatever it may be. It's like that's a foot in the door into that world. So don't be afraid to take on something that might not necessarily be exactly what you want at the beginning. Sometimes those roles do just pop up and, put your name in the hat.
Yeah, you got to be seen to be heard type thing.
100%. But the other thing, and I think the most important thing is, and this is something that I talk about frequently, is that if you're going to do it, please do it for something that you actually enjoy. And you can get behind, because ultimately at the end of the day, brands spend a bucket load of money, invest a bucket load of money into people to basically put their brand forward. And it might be a local business, it might be a big brand, whatever it may be. But you are essentially the face of the brand, whether it's in that particular market or that particular country or whatever it may be. If you don't have the passion behind it, you're going to see through it. And ultimately, at the end of the day, if you're not doing that, that brand isn't going to necessarily succeed, but also ultimately at the end of the day, it's going to be a disservice to the industry as a collective. And I think, I've seen it before, unfortunately, where, they're just not in it. And it's tough to see because, what it could do is it could hinder that brand's presence in that particular market for years. People don't realize that the right person or the wrong person for your brand can either make or break it. And
for sure.
I think actually that's something that people that run brands could also take a piece of advice from as well. Not just people looking to get into it. I guess that's a two-way street.
Well, I mean, we're all supporting each other. Either someone's paying the bill or someone is paying for the training.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly.
And so, I have sort of maybe wrestled with this a little bit as an outside observer looking into a lot of competitions that go on nowadays. I see amazingly talented bartenders. Now, 15 years ago, when I started observing the industry and started fucking bar backing at Lone Stars and shit like that,
Bar backing at Lone Star?
Yeah, bro.
Hell yeah.
That's like where I got my
Lone Star ribs will forever hit.
Yeah, boy, the redneck ribs.
Forever hit. I don't care what anyone says. Yeah, sorry.
Oh,
Go ahead.
It's great. I mean, that's where I learned what a fucking margarita was.
Yeah, come on now. Lone Star will always rock. Will always rock.
Yeah, fucking, because that was a Christchurch original.
Yeah, on was it on Manchester Street?
Yes.
Yeah, I know the one. Come on now. Yeah, that place rocks.
Fucking Rat Lone Star. That's such a solid New Zealand brand, bro.
Yeah, man, Lone Star.
But like, yeah, observing from there to observing now, back then there wasn't a lot of competitions.
Yeah.
And so for the few and far between competitions that you could get involved in, you just naturally really supported that brand and really wanted to get behind it.
Yeah.
Nowadays, I think brands over the past sort of 10 years or so have noticed that competition is a really good way to get people involved with your brand.
Massively, yeah.
But it got to a point where you have incredibly talented bartenders, but they're not loyal to one brand. They are doing 15 competitions a year, you know? And really, they're just going to stick with the brand that they win type thing. And so sometimes I wrestle with it. I was like, do we have really good brand loyalty? Or do we just have really talented bartenders that are able to use that product? And so it's, I struggle myself with just figuring out, like, where does the balance lie? How do we have spirits that are really, really good to work with and versatile, but then also that are produced by brands that we can 100% get behind?
Yep.
And people will stay loyal to that brand for years and years and years. And I think what builds that loyalty is the leadership at the top of the distillery, the authenticity and quality of the product, and then the reps that, like yourself, are building relationships with the specific bartenders and people that are using their product. And I mean, it's like a friendship almost, you know. If you're a really good friend, you'll have a good friend in return. But if you're a shit friend, you'll have a shit friend in return.
For sure.
And so loyalty is built through the brand, and the bartenders sort of carry that forward. But they'll only carry it as far as the brand is loyal to them as well, type thing. You know?
That's a really good point, actually. We ran for the Reed, we ran a global competition last year. It's the second time we've run it. And so it's someone that has actually run a competition from start to finish, but also having been involved in competitions when I was actually behind the bar. It's a really interesting point because, to your point, yes, you're right. There is an element of, you know, a bartender doing 15 comps in a year. And there's nothing wrong with that. They should go and do that because ultimately, at the end of the day, it kind of goes back to
great experience.
Yeah, and it goes back to that conversation we were having earlier about bartenders building their own personal brands. Bartenders should be going out and doing as many comps as they possibly can. Competition bartending and bartending are two very, very different things, but it's exposure. It's creativity. It also puts you in front of a lot of people that, you know, can make decisions. You know, if people are looking at getting into, you know, the sort of commercial side of things or the repping side of things, you know, you meet a lot of those people through the competition side. Now, to your point on brand loyalty, the brand loyalty actually starts and ends with the brand. It's got nothing to do with the bartenders because ultimately, at the end of the day, we know what bartenders are like. I'm an old bartender, you know. We like free shit. You know, we like merch.
Give us a
t-shirt. Free shit. We like trips.
Give us a bottle and a t-shirt.
Who's going to provide us with that? You know what I mean? But I think the brand loyalty, like the year-on-year brand loyalty, starts from the advocacy strategy from that brand. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, you know, and this is just a real conversation. Like, people are replaceable. End of story. You know, and if your entire brand focuses and hinges on one person or, you know, a group of people, then it's going to be a real challenge for that brand to succeed moving forward when, for instance, they get a better professional opportunity or, you know, they have, you know, health issues or they have family troubles or, you know, their partner goes into labor or they go into labor and have children or build a family or get married or like there are so many different variables in someone's life that will affect their professional life. So if you invest in the people, that's great, but you need essentially like an advocacy strategy behind that so that ultimately when those people do move on, there's methods in place to replace, not that person and what the person brings to the table, but it's not like it's going to fall off the cliff type thing. You know what I mean? So it's like
it needs to be a two-pronged strategy.
Yeah, it's like what's the brand doing collectively to build advocacy as a collective within the industry, but also working specifically with those individuals that have supported their brand really well, either through competitions or or volumes and whatever and exposure, whatever it may be. So I think to your point, it's a double-edged sword. Bartenders should go out and do 100 comps if they possibly can.
Yeah.
But the brands also need to build strategies in place to make sure that there is still that bridge between the brand and that bartender, so that there is a line of conversation. For instance, if they start their own program or open their own venue or whatever it may be. And again, I might not know what that looks like right now, but I think there's not a huge disconnect, but I think there is a disconnect there, and I think again, there's ways of working to collaboratively and collectively work on bringing loyalty together, but it has to be genuine loyalty, not transactional. And I think that's the one thing that this industry struggles with the most is transactional loyalty. And it's frustrating to see sometimes.
Yeah, and it's something that I always think about from like the Bar Society's perspective. Extremely fortunate that we're a company and product that can go with any sort of spirit,
I mean, look, man.
And in so many different bars.
Bars are always going to need ice.
Bars are always going to need ice. Like, that is something that we really have going for it.
Yep.
And so, comparison may be the thief of joy, but you have to look upon people that have been successful to figure out how to follow that same path.
Sure.
And so when I look at the Bar Society, I'm like, look, how do we really cement ourselves as a great company within the industry and have loyalty from our bartenders and venues and things like that. And so doing things like sponsoring any sort of bartender for event.
Yep.
You're doing a cocktail comp. We're doing Everybody Eats like you did on Tuesday, which I want to talk more about later on.
Sure.
But how do we serve the industry to get everyone behind us so we can keep pushing it forward?
Yep.
And how do we support bartenders in their individual sort of brand schedule? How do we do that? But then I look upon spirit brands and I'm like, man, there's so much competition in that realm. How did they achieve it on such a large scale? And so that's why I sort of have the thought, it's how is everything managed? How is it balanced? Because, it's a double-edged sword.
For sure.
We are fortunate in the terms of it's ice.
Yes.
And everyone needs ice. So
Correct.
It's a little bit, we're not competing with the reed in any way, shape or form, you know? It's just hard water, man.
It's just hard water.
It's just hard water. It's just fancy
hard
hard water.
Yeah. But
exactly.
I think to your point, and I think the thing you didn't touch on, and this is going to be me shouting you out here for a second, is that you have a great product, and you have a wonderful product that pretty much every bar, every food and beverage outlet in the world needs, which is ice. Mm-hmm. You can buy an ice machine. But it's the quality of ice that you can provide.
Yeah.
But the one thing that you do specifically well, and I think everyone will agree with me on this, is that your service is what makes you stand apart from everyone else. And that's a huge thing, because ultimately at the end of the day, it's like you might have the world's best product, but if you're a prick to deal with, people are going to be like, is it really worth dealing with them for this? Or is it, hey, actually, and I'm not saying this at all, but like you do genuinely have a phenomenal product. But service is the one thing that separates you. Like, you could have a terrible product, but immaculate service, and people will be like, yeah, it's bugger. It's not it's not the best, but I really like dealing with that person. And so I'm going to continue to go to them. But you've got both. And I think that's where you harness and channel that moving forward. Again, don't have the answers on how to do that, but that would be my suggestion.
Thank you, bro. I appreciate the kind words. And it's I have always kind of thought that the service is the foundation. The product is great. We know it's great. We know we're confident in the product and things like that. But I've always kind of believed that the service is the thing that keeps us as a strong company and a good retention. I mean, I can't remember if we talked about it before the podcast or not, but it's partly the reason why I started the podcast was because
Yes.
when I only had 2 or 3 clients, I could spend half an hour to an hour chatting to them in their venue. But then now that we're doing 30 deliveries in a day, it's a drop it and run. And so starting the podcast was an excuse for me to keep having those conversations with people and just sit here and talk some shit.
Exactly.
Because, I mean, that's what I like doing. I'm a bartender at heart. I just like talking shit with people and having a laugh, you know.
That's the best. We all do. That's part of the reason why we get into it. You know?
Exactly. We're people.
Yeah, we're people. You know?
I mean, you were getting into, tourism. That's also a people industry. So you've always been very people orientated.
Always.
Service orientated. Let's just have a fucking good time together.
Yeah, man. Yeah, spreadsheets someone else can deal with that. You know, let me deal with the people. That's what I'm good at. That's where my skill set shines.
No, 100%. Love it, bro. And so I really wanted to touch on Everybody Eats.
Yeah. Cool.
So it was an event. It's just passed.
Yep.
It was on Tuesday. And we're super happy to, throw some ice in so all of the
really
drinks
appreciate it.
I came up and you and Ollie were batching cocktails out the back here at Panacea.
Yeah.
So for anyone that doesn't know what Everybody Eats is, what is it and how did it start and what is it doing?
So Everybody Eats is a really cool charity. I am actually a little unfamiliar about the original origins of it. I first came across it probably in 2020 maybe? 2021? I want to say it was pre-COVID. If I've got that wrong, forgive me. I'm sure someone will fact check me on that. But I first came across them when they were running a pop-up on a Monday night at Jamaica Street up in St. Kevin's Arcade on K Road. And essentially they were taking, from what I gather, they were just taking like offcuts or like pieces of food prep from kitchens nearby that were either going to go to waste or whatever, and they were providing meals for people. You know, they were making a pop-up dinner, and it was essentially like pay what you can sort of thing. It was the whole idea is exactly that. Everybody eats, you know, and it ties in really well with a belief that I have. Like, food should not be, a privilege.
Yeah.
Food should be. It doesn't matter, who you are in the world or what your status is or how well you're doing or how poorly you're doing. No one should ever have to, struggle to eat. The amount of food that gets wasted in this world, is horrific. And we've still got people starving.
Yeah.
So it's like no one should ever have to wonder where their next meal's coming from. And so that's something that I've always believed in. And I've done some stuff with them in the past. They opened up a brick and mortar site in Onehunga. God, again, this is testing my memory. A couple of years, I want to say it was post-COVID maybe.
Okay.
Just post-COVID. And we as a distillery, I wanted to help and get on board with them. So I actually helped do I think we just went out there and made some G&Ts for their opening night or whatever, just to help and support. And it's something that I've always been really passionate about. And a lot of other friends of mine have worked with them in the past. And it's funny. So Danny, who owns Panacea and who was here, who was in New York visiting a couple of months ago, we had this idea about doing a pop-up whilst I was coming home. Mainly because, in my current role, I don't get a huge opportunity to let my creative juices flow.
Yeah.
But also, I just wanted to do something fun, get behind like a really good cause. But also make some drinks with people. It's what I like to do. And so we were talking about it, and we thought, well, why don't we do a pop-up? And I was like, cool. I was like, look, Danny, I don't want to make any money. I was like, I just want this to be like a social thing. And then we kind of morphed and shaped into, well, why don't we work with a charity? I was like, right, well, let's work with Everybody Eats. And so Danny was super kind to sort of lend the space out. And on Tuesday night, we just did it was a one night only menu. 3 drinks, 3 of my drinks, and then we shouted out one of Danny and I's favourite bars in New York, sort of a riff on one of their drinks, which was kind of cool too. And the whole idea was that anything that we made, we were going to kick back to them.
Cool.
So I think we raised about $2,000.
Nice.
Which was cool. It's something that I can do, on holiday, but do something for a good cause. And have fun with it too, And yes, me and my brother, we were here at the bar batching for 2 days, and sure, we might have wanted to kill each other at the end of it, but ultimately at the end of the day, I don't get to see him that often. So even if we're stuck in a room batching for a few hours, it's time that we'll never get back. And I wouldn't want to do it with anyone else. And shout out to everyone that came along too, because it really did mean the world to me, and obviously meant the world to you know, to those that are going to benefit from that $2,000, you know, yeah. So it was cool. I was really glad to do it, and you know, Danny obviously here was a huge help, and PJ as well, and the rest of the team at Panacea who helped sort of, you know, make sure that everything sort of came out correctly. You know, yeah, really, really thankful and honoured. Yeah,
love it, bro.
Yeah,
love it. We're kind of creeping into sort of the last sort of portions of it now. So we tend to finish on the breadcrumb mojito moment.
Yeah.
We had a chat about what that is earlier on. So I'm sure you've got something that is a golden moment.
I got two of them. I got two of them for you. Yeah. One of them, the first one, was actually my first ever bar shift.
Okay. Oh, perfect. Fucking oath. That is breadcrumb mojito moment.
First ever bar shift was Melbourne Cup Day. And
quiet as every year.
Quiet day. Yeah, quiet. And I got called in at call time was 10 a.m. because of course Melbourne Cup's a daytime thing.
Yeah.
Started at 10. First job. Didn't really know anything. Didn't know my way around the bar. And they were like, right, Pat, there's like 40 kilos of limes. Just cut them into quarters. Put them in the bin. Sorry, not in the bin, but put them in put them in, you know, basically put them in the bins, and we can, you know, use them later for service. And I was like, right, cool.
Yeah.
I got maybe like 4 limes in, and I had a brand new fresh Victorian knife. And anyone that knows what a fresh Victorian knife is, you'll know. Bro, I took the top of my thumb clean off, and I was so embarrassed and so distraught. I was like, fuck, this is my first shift. Everyone's going to think I'm a loser. And so I hit it for ages, and I was like, fuck. And it was like pissing with blood. And I was like, oh man, this is awful. And I was like, fuck. So I like ran out the back into the kitchen and grabbed like some paper towels and like sort of tried to like stop the bleeding as much as possible. And then I just wrapped it in just like plasters and tape. And it got to the point where I was like, all right, cool, I think I'm good. And thankfully, actually, I was good.
Yeah.
From a blood standpoint.
Yeah.
And I'd put a little rubber glove over it. To
the little finger dinger.
Yeah, exactly. And then tape that down too. So anyway, went back to cutting the limes, this, that, and everything else. And once the bar opened, we just got pumped from like the moment the doors opened all day. And obviously everyone was drinking champagne to begin with, and then once the champagne sort of ran out and the sun started to set, we started getting to the late night crowd. And from that moment on, man, it was just vodka sodas, gin and tonics.
Yeah.
So just citrus and booze. Yeah. And by that point in time, you know, after probably now about a 10-hour shift, my patch job had started to sort of come undone,
sweat itself off.
Yeah, and thankfully, you know, there was no blood, no nothing, but that citrus started to seep into that wound, and so from about 8 p.m. till 4:45 in the morning, which was when that was my first bar shift. It's still the longest shift I've ever worked behind a bar.
Oh, bro.
And it was just seeping, lime juice seeping into that, and I was like, oh my god, man, and I couldn't tell anyone.
Yeah.
And we were finally about to clock off, and they were like, cool, we'll see you back here at 10 a.m. And I remember looking at a buddy of mine who had just frequently started at that same bar too. And I looked at him and I was like, man, that's less than 5. That's like a little over 5 hours from now. And I just looked at him and was just like, hey, if you're there, I'm there. Let's do it.
Yeah.
And sure enough, was back there at 10 a.m., crushed out another super long shift, had my finger taped up again. So, yeah, that was one of my first moments where I was like, I think I'm cut out for this.
Yeah. Fuck, and bro, those knives, when they're fresh.
Man, oh my god, bro, they're lethal. Oh man, I still think about it. But that was one of the most uncomfortable shifts I've ever worked, man. And then the second one was I was working at the bar in Christchurch, Strangers Lane. It was New Year's Eve. We were hosting not like a New Year's Eve party type thing, but we're a big late night venue. So we kind of knew that we were going to get, pumped later that night. Anyway, so we're about 11:15. People are starting to sort of get pretty leery. You know, the bar's absolutely heaving at this point. You know, like it's shoulder to shoulder type action. And we were working out of 2 wells out of this big bar.
Yep.
And I was running points. So basically, you walked through the door, I was the first person you saw. And that bar I love more than anything because it was refurbished wood out of the Quakes, out of the red zone.
Yep.
It's a really cool piece of wood.
Yeah. A lot of character in it.
A lot of character in it, yeah. And anyway, about 11:15, some group of people come in, you know, whatever it was, 10 vodka sodas or whatever it was. And so, sure enough, by the time I get them done, take the payment, happy days, and I go to put the bottle of vodka back into the well, and I clipped the well and shattered it straight into the well. And this is like a full ice well. And now we're probably about, you know, 11:20, 11:25, and it's a good solid 10 minutes or so to, you know, dump this full ice well out, rinse it down, make sure every little bit of glass is out. And so by the time we're like back in action, we're about 11:25, 11:30. At this point in time, everyone knows how busy the bar is, so everyone's trying to get in line. So they've got a drink in hand for the midnight cheers. We're like, right, okay, thank God to the bar back, and this is going to kill me because I can't remember his name, and I'm so sorry. But anyway,
it was his job.
It was his job, and I gave him a hand. And sure enough, next order comes in, and it's like, you know, half a dozen G&Ts or whatever, and did the exact same thing.
Oh, bro.
So within about 20-25 minutes, you know, in the busiest time of the New Year's Eve shift, I've shattered ice all through 2 fresh ice wells, and the team are just looking at me like you
fucking get in the bin,
you prick. And I still to this day have never lived that down. And I never will. And I just laugh at it now. I'm like, you know, it doesn't matter how good we think we are. It doesn't matter, you know, like what we achieve in life or you know where we've gone or what we've done. It's like we've always got those moments where it's just like, bring us down a couple of pegs,
bro.
You know, bring us down a couple of pegs. We're all human at the end of the day.
Fucking know, every seed starts in the dirt. Like,
man. Bro. Fucking A.
No one's perfect.
Yeah, 100%. 100%, man.
Oh, so, it is absolutely classic.
Yeah, that was my good one.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Hey, bro. Thank you very much for your time.
Pleasure, man. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much for your service to the industry.
No, thank you, man. Thank you.
Good luck for everything in the future, and I'm sure we're going to do this again, and we'll see more of you.
I can't wait. Hopefully I'll have some more ones for you.
Can't wait. I want to hear about like dropping a case somewhere or some shit like this, you know.
I've done that too. Don't worry about that. Cheers, thank you so much, man.
Hey, no worries, bro. It's always a pleasure, never a chore.
Always.
Hey,
thank you, man.
Love it.
Thank you.
And thank you everyone for listening. Ciao. Enjoy some Cadrona whiskey when you can.
Thank you, man. Appreciate it.
Easy.
Awesome. Cheers.
Oh, amazing, bro. Thank you.
No, it was fun.
That's it for this week's episode of the Breadcrumb Mojito Podcast. Follow us on Spotify, YouTube, Instagram and TikTok at the Breadcrumb Mojito Podcast and look out for next week's episode.